Hello everyone, it's Bavar from PTC or Port Terra Conglomerate here. We're here with our latest video to give you an overview of arguably the most flexible non-MISC hull class hauler, the Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar. Throughout this video we'll be covering the ship's lore, her overall features and specifications, as well as her layout and how we at PTC like to use the ship. As a bonus, we will also try and draw some links to real-world vehicles that we feel fulfill a similar role to how PTC likes to use the Cat and how she may be used by the less than lawful. When it comes to hauling, the smaller you go compared to the ubiquitous hull series, the more interesting it gets, and it doesn't get much more interesting in my personal opinion than the Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar. Where Crusader's Hercules ships took the high road in terms of reputation, the Caterpillar's reputation took the low road with quite the sordid history. After the blazing success of the Cutlass Black, which launched in the 28th century, Drake's CEO and lead designer at the time decided to expand on the Cutlass's limited success as a commercial hauler, which was understandably more well known for its combat capabilities. The prototype Caterpillar was unveiled at the 2871 IAE Expo and, to put it mildly, had a bit of a frosty initial reception. Complaints mostly focused on its older design compared to its sleeker contemporaries, and even had one visitor exclaiming, "This is the first time I've seen a new ship that looks like it was designed 30 years ago." That being said, like a few things in life, the critics didn't seem to know jack compared to actual people in the field, who saw the Cat for what it was, and were floored by two things. Number one, just how damned cheap it was compared to the competition, and secondly, her flexibility, thanks to being able to swap modules, thereby allowing small outfits to haul large amounts of cargo as well as widely varying types of cargo. This allowed the old girl to undertake a surprisingly large variety of missions, ranging from hauling through to combat support, search and rescue, and even spaceborne salvaging to a limited degree. The inclusion of one tractor beam either side didn't hurt either when it came to cargo handling in the less developed parts of the UEE. A fantastic example of the broader reaction to the Cat is a portion of a transcript from Craig Burton of Craig Crafts, Clean Shot Shipping Update 2943. The new Caterpillar is a hauler. Straight up, no thrills. The number of options you can apply to it is truly goddamn staggering. You want to move raw? Easy. How about compartmentalize your hull to allow comm servers, cargo, and human transport all in the one run? It can chuck 'em all like a champ. The damn thing is a metal slug that will haul whatever you can fit into it. You might say the offensive capabilities are a little light. You're right, it ain't gonna be winning any dogfights anytime soon. But what you lack in offense, you more than make up for in defensive options. If you need this thing to take a beating and ask for seconds, it can. Again, it's all about the option combinations. The biggest downside has got nothing to do with the ship itself, it's the reputation associated with it, due to, no small part to me. To every local cop, advo, merc and citizen, Drake ships are treated like suspects wherever they go. Sure, the company tries to diffuse their ship's association with a criminal element, but come on, we all know better. So, the biggest problem with the Caterpillar is the negative attention you'll receive. Cops will probably scan you more often than you used to. Bounty hunters will probably mark you in their logs just in case a contract ever comes down on you. But I'm telling you, it's worth it, because this thing will get you there, and that's all of us old dog haulers can ever ask for. And, well, like most Drake ships of the time, they certainly weren't making it very hard for ships to be used for less than savoury activities. The multiple side doors / elevators and tractor beams made space cargo handling and loading a breeze, with the ship's sheer size allowing it to carry a wide variety of weapons and even ultralight support craft in that modified frontal section and in the cargo modules as well for the more enterprising among us. The The price only made it more appealing to those on a smaller budget such as independent haulers, let alone those with less than legal professions, with its ubiquity leading it to being a rather unremarkable sight in the space lanes. After all, can you remember how many Cutlass Blacks you saw last time you were out there? As if being tarnished by the blacks growing piracy associations wasn't enough, the Cat, according to the latest TSAS crime stats, is one of the most common ships used in crime across the entire empire, with it commonly being associated with illegal salvage operations through to smuggling and assaults. And the proverbial cherry on top was the infamous Kesselring heist of 2903. Emil Kesselring owned a few mining rights in the Toe Hill system which had, for the most part, proven to have been a total waste of money. That, however, changed overnight when they found a deposit of Iridium in one of the asteroids. It may have weighed around pretty much a single kilogram, but that alone was enough to make it the largest deposit of the mineral ever found, with all sales and deposits being logged by the UEE. Much to their eventual regret, Emil told everyone and anyone about their discovery and their fortune, and before long the entire empire was abuzz with the news. It took until 2903 for a buyer to be found, and on the way to the sale, a Caterpillar broke out and departed from the traffic lanes during heavy traffic to ram into the transport for the Iridium, using the front sensor arrays to punch into and hook into the hull of the transport. It was over in a flash. In less than 5 minutes, the escorts had been downed, the ship boarded, and the Iridium nicked. Their task done, the thieves departed in the Cat's command module, allowing the pirates to disappear back into the chaotic space lanes with their fighter-craft accomplices, leaving behind an image that would never be forgotten. A Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar hull hooked into the vented hull of what was supposed to have been a secure transport. Despite authorities undertaking a desperate search across the system, the culprits were never found, and the Cat was forever associated with the heist, though that didn't stop the old girl from becoming the second most popular freighter in the verse, next to the venerable Hull C. In terms of the ship's specifications and features, she'll run you a length of 111.5, a width of 39.5, and a height of 13.4 meters, with her cargo capacity at 576 SCU and a quantum tank of about 11,000 liters. In terms of her components, the Cat is one of those few ships where we'll have to split the components section of the video into two halves, one for the main ship itself and the other for the command module. When it comes to the main body, all of the components are size 3, with everything but the QT drive being doubled. Cat's main body also features triple size 2 computers and radars. As for the command module itself, you'll be looking at a single size 1 radar and computer, 2 size 1 power plants, 2 size 1 coolers, and 2 size 1 shields with a single size 1 QT drive for your trouble. When it comes to the Cat's defensive armaments, she's packing a fairly decent amount for a hauler. She's packing dual turrets, one top, one bottom, with both carrying dual guns of size 4 category apiece, supported by Drake's T-89 precision interface for surgical accuracy. In terms of their articulation, they're able to elevate up to 80 degrees or thereabouts and about 5 degrees in depression. The command module itself is sporting dual size 3 hardpoints accompanied by dual size 2s. When it comes to the Drake Caterpillar's layout, we can break it into 3 sections: the core section, the command module, and the transport section. To start off with, we have the lift bay. Not too much here aside from the lift itself, some weapons racks, and some doors leading into the cargo section as well as the core section. I will mention a superstition held by cat owners in law, saying it's bad luck to enter the cab by any other way than this bay the first time you board one. Leaving the lift bay, we enter into the lower hallway and begin the anti-clockwise spiral of the core section. First up is the engineering section, which features the 2 engines, an engineering console, and the lower turret access point. We also have access via a ladder to the component areas of the ship and access to the center hallway via a door. Once we hit the center hallway, we gain access to a few new areas. To the right is a starboard side tractor control station. and continuing down the hallway, we hit the EVA access on the right, allowing us to gain access to the exterior of the ship via a hatch, which isn't functional at the moment, and the cat's upper catwalks via the door on the far end. Leaving the EVA access room, we then move into the server access and component areas of the ship that I mentioned earlier, which really gives you a great idea as to the size of some of these components on the bigger scale of things. Heading up the stairs, we enter the command module. This area features the pilot seat, co-pilot seat, portside tractor control station on the lower level of the command module, and crew quarters also on the lower deck. As for the transport section of the boat, aside from the frontal section with its reduced size, turret access and air shield, they're all much of a muchness, with 2 elevators or doors on each side opening in a clamshell fashion, with each module being separated by a double door quasi-airlock system. In terms of her countermeasures, she's running the standard types and assortments, though with her signature and EM etc, you will be needing to use more of them on every launch. In terms of her special features, as you may well have spotted, that detachable command module or escape pod comes in pretty damn handy. This feature has also led some haulers to creating impromptu race courses around the various cargo decks as a way to pass the time whilst the hull is being loaded. The cargo modules have cargo elevators on each side, which were added as part of the 2936 revision of the Caterpillar. Each is complete with independent environmental controls, allowing each section to be loaded or unloaded without affecting the other modules. We've also been informed that eventually we will be having some degree of modularity with these sections, which could well be another ace in the hole for the Cat alongside her cost and defensive capabilities, as well as that ease of cargo handling. A novel example in lore of the flexibility of the Caterpillar's space frame is the Dancing Dawn, under the command of Captain Leland Mornahand, was outfitted as a travelling animal sanctuary and pet adoption centre. Additionally, she also has a front cargo hangar, which can be used for additional storage or housing for hoverbikes like the Drake Dragonfly, which is also equipped with an air shield. This allows crew to transfer what we are assured has been legally obtained cargo and to launch small vessels without additional decompression or loss of atmosphere. This section also contains a manned turret, cargo lift, and multiple sensors to assist with piloting. Tractor beam stations. The tractor beam stations consist of a terminal that allows the ship to safely guide debris and even errant cargo into or around the ship. Whilst not as agile as her main competition, the Hercules series of ships, you'll find the Caterpillar is by and large a fairly easy ship to fly. While she does have a bit of momentum or drift to her, it isn't an unmanageable amount. I'll also speak to her top speed, acceleration, and braking performance being fairly adequate all things considered. Her only real quirks when it comes to flying are the pilot's blind spots to the right of the transport section and in close to the front of the ship, as well as the ship's length when attempting to land, though these can be gotten around with coordination with your gunners or the usage of the third-person view to avoid collisions and to aid in pad positioning for landing. You'll find she has a combat speed or a SEM speed of 99 meters a second and a max speed of 894. She may not be winning any races, but with half the current fuel burn of the Hercs, at least in the current patch, I'm not complaining. And her speed aside, it hasn't stopped and an Arden from taking a customized Caterpillar into a sport known as whale racing. Thankfully, defense in terms of her recommended tactics is one area the cat excels in comparison to her competition. Where Crusader has placed a premium on speed and agility at the cost of fuel economy, Drake has instead focused on defensive firepower. Her dual turrets have fantastic arcs in comparison to the Hercs, offering pretty decent all-round coverage, versus the Hercs, which are more focused on dissuading pursuers behind the ship. Should you have to deal with nefarious ne'er-do-wells, you will need to keep the blind spots of the turrets in mind. The upper turret has good coverage over the front 270 degrees, with a bit of a weakness towards the rear when trying to shoot over the main core of the ship. The bottom turret, on the other hand, covers the bottom hemisphere fairly well, with understandable blind spots to the front along the underside of the cargo modules, and to a lesser degree to the rear when attempting to look up towards the horizon, again due to the core of the ship. As for her claim times, you'll find she has a standard claim time of 18 minutes, which when expedited is 6 minutes, and you'll be paying about 9,000 UEC for the privilege. In terms of PTC's use cases for the cat, she's pretty much our hauler of choice for now in comparison to the Hercules due to her better ability to defend herself and her enhanced flexibility down the line thanks to modularity. She'll serve a key link in the chain of logistics for us, being a pretty damn decent hauler that can venture down into and back out of Atmo. As for our equivalent vehicle or vehicles, we decided to go with the class of World War II Kriegsmarine ships, the auxiliary cruisers, which served as commerce raiders, an example of which was the Penguin, the most successful commerce raider for the Germans, which accounted for 28 ships in 10.5 months and was one of the first wave of commerce raiders that was sent out. I hope you enjoyed this overview of my favourite hauler and her lore. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe if you're feeling charitable and want to see more of this. All that being said, what's your favourite hauler and why? This is Bavar from PTC, signing off.